Hello and welcome to weekly edition of Community Link, your source of information about the Somali community in the Twin Cities. Your host, Magan Ibrahim, and I have next to me Zuhur Ahmed. We have a very exciting program today. We'll be talking about the Somali youth and the problems of the Somalis in Minnesota in the Twin Cities area. We have a special report tonight prepared by Zuhur Ahmed.
Welcome to Community Link, your special online edition program that helps communities understand current issues. Programs that focus on emerging needs and current issues that affect new immigrants by teaching techniques to enable them to adapt to their new home. Programs designed to disseminate awareness. It will be a vehicle for communities to voice their cultural, political, economic vision, fostering their participation and contribution to the well-being of the general community. I am Zuhur Ahmed.
And I am Magan Ibrahim. Greetings to you all. Today we will talk about the immigrant youth, particularly Somali youth. Somalis in Minneapolis are believed to be the largest African immigrants in the city and are facing many problems. We will explore what those problems are and try to seek some solutions from experts. There was a report about the Somali youth prepared by Shugri Ali, a Somali female living in the Twin Cities. First of all, let's hear the summary of that program.
Summary of report on Somali youth issues. After a series of problems that surfaced from some of the Somali youth in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which included armed robbery, the Department of Civil Rights Commission, Shakira Aden, to research this particular issue. The purpose of the research was to establish awareness that there is an issue of crime and gang activities existing in the lives of many Somali youth, to detect problems that have faced the community in general, and then to draw a connection as how these problems can be identified with the factors of youth crime, to give the city of Minneapolis possible recommendation on how to work with the Somali community on solving these issues. This report was organized in such a way that the author first provided a brief summary of the objectives of the report. Therefore, she reported on crimes, cases that have taken place, and then gave background information about Somali community. After conducting an extensive research, which included interviewing individual and community leaders, the author concluded the existence of the following 8 issues, which could be considered to be contributing factors to the Somali youth issue. Mental health in the Somali community. Many of the challenges faced by Somali immigrants are due in part to their dramatic experience as a refugee. These experiences included loss of family member, overcrowded conditions in refugee camps, the overwhelming infection diseases, post-traumatic stress disorder, the invalid assumption coming from elders in the community that once the youth came to the country. All of these problems would automatically be solved. Youngsters who don't recover from PSDT face a life with a pattern of self-destructive behavior, eventually leading to gang members and or a life crime. Poverty. Which refugees come to this country, they are only helped out of a short period, after which they are expected to be self-reliant, and therefore living in a poverty might be an additional factor that leads Somali youth to report to criminal activities. Recreation. It is doubtful that recreational activities played an important part in lives of the young adults by teaching them that such an important skill as teamwork, when combined with an important of personal effort, can lead to a worthy activities. Consequently, crime typically occurred on increase during summer, where many youth are involved in gang activities instead of recreational activities. Poverty plays an additional role, since most recreational programs require payments of fees, whereas refugees' families are on a fixed income, those cannot afford to pay those fees. Somali families live in the city where they can find public transportation. Language barriers. Youth children have an easier time learning the language. They don't involve their parents in their everyday life. They take advantage of their parents' inability to communicate by reducing their access to information on behavioral or academic problems at school. Community resource. Already existing programs lack proper funding to serve the youth. Mainstream programs don't reach out to Somali youth. Therefore, community leaders are not aware of them. Homeless among Somali youth. Some youth come with an extended family. Role reversal. Become disrespectful to their parents and or guardian. Parents are dependent on the children's interpreting translation. Consequently, children see them in a lower status than before. This creates a conflict where the child considers that she or he lives in a different world than his parent and guardian. And parents and guardian conclude that their children become Americanized. Conflict at home causes them to run away from home and join gang activities. Resource in education. Bilingual teachers as a result of the No Child Left Behind Act, introduced in 2002. Majority of the bilingual Somali teachers were laid off. This caused the Somali youth to lose their second parent and the most important support they had in the schools. While parents lost those who used to tell them when their kids were misbehaving. Charter schools. Charter schools are located in a faraway locations, and parents don't have secure transportation. Inappropriate placement. Students are placed into schools based on their age when they arrive into the state and not on the basis of what they know. Transit and gang members. Somali gang constitutes less than 1%. Mainly they get introduced to gangs and gang life while skipping school. Gang groups have replaced the family. They are very supportive of each other. No particular group leads, but the elder has a final say. The three main gangs are the Rough Somalis, Hot Boys Gang, Somali Mafia. Recommendation. Address the concern raised in the report with Minneapolis youth considering coordinating border. Explore a youth drop-in center community outreach.
You are still listening to the special report commissioned by City of Minneapolis to search and find out the problems of the Somali communities in the Somali youth in Minneapolis. I do have here my friend Abdullah Blale, and the second half of the program we will speak Somali language. We will ask some community to call and discuss those problems over the air so that we can share some of the findings and try to find some solutions. We will also have an interview here. We will interview some of the Somali youth, some of the Somalis who work with the Somalis, and those are some of the young students at the University of Minnesota. We are still listening to Fresh Air Community Radio, KFAI 90.3 FM Minneapolis and 106.0 FM St. Paul.
أيامها نفسي كورموي ما أحد مالي ركونا شعيل وايب لي أحد مالي ركونا شعيل وايب لي أيامها نفسي كورموي ما
On this program's community link, we are talking about the Somali youth problems in the Twin Cities. We have in our studio today Naima Bashir. Naima is a senior student of University of Minnesota. She's majoring in family and social sciences and African studies. Naima has done some work last summer of 2006, a research paper about Somali parents and school partnership. We would like her to include our search to find a solution about the Somali youth problems here in the Twin Cities. Welcome, Naima.
Thank you.
Before we start, Naima, let's talk about the research you have done. Can you talk about it and tell us more about the work that you have done last summer that talks about the parent and school and how that fits in the youth?
Definitely. Initially, before I decided to take on a research project in this past summer, I was a tutor at the Bryant Cole Community Center for some time, and I realized a lot of students that came to that center for help were not receiving the type of help that they needed academically because there was less supervision of parents. Parental involvement was definitely lacking in that area. So I decided to take on this independent research through the McNair program in the summer of 2006. And I looked at basically how the idea of parent and school partnership fits within the Somali community, within the Somali culture and the Somali family systems. What I assumed was that, Somali parents were, because they're new immigrants to the United States and to Minnesota, they probably would not feel included in the mainstream Minnesota schools. Limitations could be language barriers, socioeconomic status, culture differences, and different other factors that may prohibit them from collaborating with schools and the school personnel. And I also read a paper, actually was a report on Star Tribune that looked at the rate of graduation rates for African and African American students in high school, and it showed that Minnesota has the lowest rates of African American students graduating from high school, less than 50%, while if you look at the general statistic, Minnesota has one of the highest graduation rates if you include Caucasians and other ethnicities. So what this does is it kind of takes away from the whole problem that, our children, African Americans, Somalis are considered African Americans, whether you like it or not. And so what happens is, and our kids are included into this category, and we cannot really step over that and act like this is not happening. And so I decided to just, all these things kind of bothered me quite a bit, and I decided to take on this project. Looking at one factor, which was, what can parents do to be more involved. And when I looked at the literature, one of the key factors that kept on coming up as a theme was that academic success is really determined by how parents are involved in schools. And what does this tell us? So if you're not really involved in your child's school, really the rate at which he or she is going to do well is limited. So it was really something to look into and see what our Somali parents are missing, what are the issues, what can we find solutions in, and so that was the motive of my whole research.
Thank you, Naima. I'm sure you are still in the middle of the research.
Yes, I am.
And we realized that there is a connection about the problem that we are looking into today about the Somali youth and the lack of parenting in some of the African or East African or Somalis in the Twin Cities. And we would like to know if you come across in your research about how the parents, and you mentioned that the parents are the basic fundamental help for the students to graduate. How would the parents can help African or immigrant parents, since they don't have all the resources, don't speak the language, they have some socioeconomic problems. How do you see them helping their students so that they can graduate?
I would definitely say that, adding on all these factors, with the language, socioeconomic status, those are understandable things that people don't choose to be in. But I would really challenge these parents, if you will, to look beyond that. I'll take an example of when I was tutoring Brian Coyle. There was one, I believe he was a 4th grader, and he didn't live with his mom or dad. His grandma was raising him, and the grandma did not have any educational background. She'd never stepped a day in our life. She never went to school. But this woman was very focused on having this little guy, this little student, this 4th grader, do his homework. She was persistent. She was sitting right next to me and saying, okay, do it right now. I want to see you do it. Now, it just takes that, and you show your students that you care about how they do in school. And you're on, I'm not saying be on their case all the time, but at least show them that you do value education, and that you want to see them graduate. The other thing also is the issue of graduation is one. The second thing is, how do they go further from that, looking at higher education. That's one of the things that I would like to concentrate on my paper is, okay, well, these students are, if you wanted them to graduate from high school, they need to go to college also. So what can you do? You need to introduce this idea of college much earlier than maybe when they're in high school. You need to introduce it when they're in middle school and say, you're going to college, and give them that feeling that they, that confidence that they can do it. They can exceed in high school and even go up to college.
Naima, I'm sure there's a number of Somali students that graduated over the years. Is there a statistics out there or number out there that you come across talking about the graduation level of Somali students in the Twin Cities?
Unfortunately, I have not seen that on paper when I looked into the literature. That's something that I really would, when I say I'm continuing this research, I really would like to get those statistics. But because what happens is, since we're in the category of African Americans, we are not divided from that. We don't know how many students, but if you go into the schools and see how many students say, okay, in the census, they say, okay, I consider myself Somali, or if they differentiate that, then we can find how many students are Somali in that school and their graduation rate in that school, and that's the only way I'm thinking we can get to a statistics. But at this moment, it's really hard for me to find legitimate statistics on that.
Let's go back to the parenting and Somali youth. In terms of understanding, do you think the Somali parents or the Somalis elders here in Minnesota understand the difference between the Somali system of education and American system of education, where parents are expected to be involved?
That's one of the issues that a lot of schools are having, that, this whole cultural misunderstanding is definitely there. But like I said, I would like to challenge these parents, because they are in a different land. They're in America right now, and in Western countries, it is needed. I mean, as from a parent, to be active in schools. And while I see this as being a cultural misunderstanding, I also see this as an opportunity for parents to step out of their box and do what is necessary for their children to succeed. Because, like it or not, these schools will not take you seriously if you're not there. The teachers will see you as disinterested in your child's education, and that will cause consequences for your child's education. So in order for that not to happen, you must be involved in any way possible. And there are definitely a lot of barriers to that, but I would challenge them to just get out of their box and do what is needed as far as parental involvement goes.
Obviously, our program is tailored towards English speaking and Somali speaking both, because the first half an hour we'll do English and the second half in Somali, and we would like to interview some people who will speak Somali so that Somali speakers will benefit from these programs. But since we bring in the awareness, have you come across any programs or any awareness a program that is geared towards Somali parents, where the Somali parents can seek help and they can come and learn more about the things that they're supposed to be doing?
I would say there's a lot of centers that are geared towards those kind of services. At this moment, I'm not sure if there's actual programs specifically for that reason. I might be wrong. There could be definitely a lot of programs that seek Somali parents' attention in schools. But I would say that, parents it's part of their duty to look for these kinds of things, these kinds of resources for their children. They are definitely there. At this moment, I don't have any offhand that I can think about.
Well, I'm sure we'll continue to talk about these programs in the future, and we appreciate your time, Naiba. But in conclusion, is there any other students like you who are working projects similar to yours, or do you have any social network who are aware of these situations that there's a problem, or trying to reach the parents?
Yeah, I'm in constant conversations with a lot of my colleagues and a lot of my friends about this issue, and there's definitely a lot of students that are interested in this at the university, in other schools as well, and it's basically just going after what you say you're gonna do. A lot of us want to help, but we're also students, and there's different things that we need to take care of. But yeah, definitely we are very interested a lot, on this subject. And I believe the University of Minnesota they have a parents link or something like that. But if we have a coalition with that and the SSAs, definitely we could get a lot of things done. I would also like to add that I forgot to mention, I'm one of the advisory members of this organization called Somali Family Services, and part of the things we want to work on is higher education and how to get Somali students to see that as an option after graduation. And there's several things that we're working on right now that hopefully will get out to parents, and that's basically our focus point at this moment.
Thank you very much, Naima.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's Naima Bashir, senior at the University of Minnesota, majoring in Family Social Services and African Studies. And we appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll appreciate if you come back to the program.
Definitely.
Thank you. We are listening to Fresh Air Community Radio, KFAI 90.3 FM Minneapolis and 106.7 FM St. Paul. You are listening to KFAI.org. And this is continuation of our Community Link program. barnaamij gaara oo ku saabsan xiriirka bulshada Soomaalida ee gobolka Minnesota. Haddii aadna dhegeysanayso fadlan waxaad ka qayb geli kartaa doodaha ku saabsan dhibaatooyinka haysata youthka ama Soomaalida dhalinyarada ah ee degan gobolka Minnesota carruurta soo kacaya. barnaamijkeena oo qaybta labaad aan ku soo qaadan doona afka Soomaaliga waxaan isku daynaa bal khadka telefoonka aan idin furno. waa anigu Magan Ibrahim, waxa ila jooga isaguna halkan ila fadhiya saaxiibkay Cabdullaahi Bulaale. waxaa sidoo kale barnaamijkeenan cusub ee loo yaqaano Community Link ee tijaabada ah nagala shaqeynaya Zuhuur Axmed. balse marka hore aan ku noqono qaybta Ingiriisiga mar dhow oo aan idin diyaarin aanu qaybta labaad ee barnaamijkaasi aanu idin soo dayn doono. balse marka hore hees gaar ah oo nagu talagalay dad naga soo codsaday oo si aad iyo aad noogu dheer. maqal haboon.
indhahayga aragtidaada cad bay ugu farxayane indhahayga aragtidaada cad bay ugu farxayane adko kale aadmigana kumaan aragin ado kaleba aadmigana gacalooy kumaba aragin adko kale aadmigaba kumaan aragin ado kaleba aadmigana gacalooy kumaba aragin وبحرك بحيديو تداديسو قلبيغا وبحرك بحيديو تداديسو قلبيغا كصبحي آياتي احتمال مديغانا معان ما يسأرو وبحرك بحيديو تداديسو قلبيغا وبحرك بحيديو تداديسو قلبيغا كصبحي آياتي احتمال مديغانا مع ميس أروس احتمال مديغانا مع ميس أروس
عدكي فؤاد عمر هي موسيقي محمد كرامة يا حسن الجيل
لهنا كل كان يقول عطاؤه الواد قربي قبل هنا كل كان يقول عطاؤه الواد قربي أبكيو أمانتا وفضولاي أبكيونا أمانتا جعلوا وفضولاي أبكيو أمانتا وفضولاي أبكيونا أمانتا جعلوا وفضولاي الدنيا أي تهاي أيام قرا إنك استوي الدنيا أي تهاي أيام قرا أذنك إشارتي أحمل مديقنا مع الناس أروس إنك استوي الدنيا أي تهاي أيام قرا Estoy a tu yaro, ay tahay ayang pura, adaka ishate, ahimel madigana, medemais arosa, ahimel madigana, maan mais arosna.
waa hagaag halka heestaas ka dhageysanaysaan waa barnaamijkeennii community link amaba xiriirka bulshada. You're listening to Community Radio KFAI 90.3 FM Minneapolis and 106.FM in St. Paul. This is Community Link, a special program designed to help create a link among the communities in East African communities and the mainstream community in the Twin Cities. We have a special report about the Somali youth and problems they are facing here in the Twin Cities. We have talked to several people, and we have here my colleague, a co-producer, Zuhur Ahmed, will talk to one of the Somali youth who's involved with the Somali youth problems.
Today with us we have Abdurrahman Mukhtar, who is Youth Line Director at the Elliott Park, which is one of the sites in Minneapolis Park Recreation Board. Also, who is a Youth Diversion Advocacy Coordinator at the Confederation of Somali Community in Minnesota. Welcome, Abdurrahman.
Thank you, Zuhur.
You're welcome. We'll first like to start with you telling us a little bit about your involvement with youth. If you can just, as a start, talk about that a little bit.
Thank you. Again, I have started working with the youth 2002 with the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. And I started working the youth line at Elliott Park. And right now, currently, I work with Confederation of Somali Community as a youth diversion and advocacy coordinator.
Thank you. If you can just a little bit tell us the nature of the youth problems and just go on and discuss that a little bit. What is it, some findings of the nature that kind of occur to you?
Currently, when you talk about youth problems, there isn't any one problem. I mean, there's trends of issues that the youth currently, the Somali youth, they face. Some of the problems currently, one of the biggest problems they are really involved in the juvenile system. They have a lot of higher truancy problems, higher rate of dropping out schools, and there's also other problems relating to maybe there's a lot of gangs that are recruiting the Somali young kids. We have homeless. A lot of kids are homeless now. A lot of kids have a lot of mental health issues. And we also have, I mean, when you say homeless, we have runaway kids. Mostly those are runaway kids.
Abdurrahman, what would you think, or how would a new immigrant have all these sorts of problems?
Actually, that's really a good question. But, I mean, you have to know that Somalis are new immigrants that just came to the country. They are new to the system. And you have parents that most of the time they don't know the lifestyle of America. They don't know. They have a language barrier. And then you have these kids that. So there's two kind of youth here. I mean, for me, normally when I talk about youth, there's two kinds of youth. There's one that who just came from Africa, basically the refugee camps or Africa, that their challenge basically is the language and adapting the American life. And you have the young and the ones that who grew up here, went middle school here, grew up here, and these two different kids have different issues and different problems. So there's no one way or there's no one problem that all these kids face.
Okay. Well, Abdurrahman, now, with your current position right now at the Brian Coyle Confederation of Somali Community, and with this, now that you're inside and you're doing some youth projects, what is it that you're hoping to find to be the main causes of these problems? What is it that you figured out while you were holding these positions?
I would say there's a lot of lack of culturally appropriate programs for the youth. If it's educational or recreational programs, they don't have enough programs that could help these youth. You also have lack of parental involvement, because you have parents that are working most of the time and they don't have enough time because they're trying to make ends meet so they can feed their families or their extended families back home, so they don't have enough time to spend with their kids. And these parents also used to the African system, or back home you have a system that the teachers were also considered as parents too, But these kids now go to school. Their parents think that just sending them to school makes them they are in school. But sometimes they skip. They don't do their homeworks. They get into a lot of problems. So I would say the environment, the system, and lack of resources are mostly the problems that are causing these kids to face these challenges.
Definitely. Lack of resources, lack of parent involvement are two big issues themselves that would create these problems and the dysfunction in the youth. Moving along, now, me and you are here sitting talking about these problems. How do you think the community reacts? And is there any ways and awareness among the community that there is such an issue that exists, that our youth are in a big danger and these problems do exist in the community? And if there is, what are the community reaction?
There is a community reaction. We are fortunate enough right now to have actually Shukri Aden. She did a research about the Somali youth and the challenges they face. So academically, we have a study that shows the problems that the youth are facing right now, and also that itself, we had a lot of media attention for that research or that Shukri Aden did. Some of the communities, mostly the people that work with the community or the Somali communities, the mosques, the parents, even the business, Somali businesses know there is a problem. But then what they don't know is just what is the right way to help these kids. And most of the time it all comes down to knowing the right places and the resources to go to. And it also comes down to funding. That's one of the biggest problems that every community, not only Somali community, but every community in America faces: lack of funding. You don't have enough funding for programs.
Do you think if there was a way to go about funding, do you think there could be funding? Earlier you mentioned that one of the problems is lack of resources, like that after school programs that are specific to those kids, so they won't go ahead and get involved in gang activities. Do you think if a community gets responsible and gets these funding, this might be a possible solution to this problem?
Yeah, there could be a possible solution, but you also have to know that there's a lot of after-school programs. You have public libraries that are trying to help all these Somali immigrants that are taking advantage of their public library resources. But again, that's not enough. You have a lot of about statistically, we don't know the right number, but you have more than 20 or 25,000 Somalis in Minnesota in Twin Cities, and with that, there's a lot of youth, and we have after-school programs for them, but it's not enough, and you don't have the right resources, culturally appropriate resources that, for example, they don't have the Somali community. They don't have a what do you call recreational center. Brian Cole Community Center is the only center that mostly serves 99% Somali community, but that itself, I mean, it's not even enough. Cedar Riverside area, the population and the youth that live in Cedar Riverside area, Brian Cole itself is not enough to those population itself.
Definitely understandable. Now, Abdurrahman, that we kind of discuss these issues, we go through it, throw maybe one or two possible solutions. In your opinion, as a youth diversion and who spend a lot of time among these youth with projects that you do, and by after reading the report that Shukri Aden did, what is it that you think are some reasonable solutions to these issues that you can tonight discuss?
I think we really have a really big problem, and we have to realize that there is a bigger problem than we think it is. And as a community, as a whole, we need to talk about the issues that are. I mean, not only these issues, but there's also healthy issues that these kids are facing. There's drugs out there. I mean, a lot of robbery. I mean, right now, as a youth diversion worker, when I work with the youth, every day at least I have 2 kids or 3 kids that are in trouble with the legal system, the juvenile system, and that's a big number. I mean, so as a community, we need to face these issues. I mean, we cannot solve the whole issues at one time, but there's something we can do about it. We need a lot of people that have the education and the training to work with the youth. That's one big problem. We always talk about money and recreational center, but we don't even have enough people that are dedicated to work with the youth. So parents also need to get involved with their youth, even though they will tell you that they work full time to support their family, but then there's a bigger problem. These kids are skipping schools, getting into trouble, doing drugs. So they need a better parental child-parent relationship, so they can have some time to talk about the issues that are facing our youth and our community. I mean, even though they are trying a lot, you have programs at the mosques, you have programs at the recreation center, but it's not enough because you have a bigger number of youth that have nothing to do.
As a wrap up, your 2 main solution tonight to have better educated people who are just trained to deal with youth, and to have parents be more involved in their children's life, such as talking to them about their issues and etc. Thank you very much. It would pleasure to have you here, Abdurrahman. Thank you very much again.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And again, I mean, doing this kind of awareness, what we are doing right now is a community awareness, and we also need this kind of media awareness to talk about issues that are facing our youth and to send their message to the whole community, parents, teachers, I mean, everyone out there. And I really appreciate for your time.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are listening to Fresh Air Community Radio, KFAI 90.3 FM Minneapolis and 106.7 FM St. Paul. You are listening to KFAI.org. This has been a web special program talking about Somali youth.